scripture today is from Luke 6:27 through 38. You may follow along in your Bibles, if you wish, on page 838. But I say to you that listen, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those that abuse you. If anyone strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also. And from anyone who takes away your coat, do not withhold even your shirt. Give to everyone who begs from you. And if anyone takes away your goods, do not ask for them again. Do to others as you would have them do to you. If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them. If you do good to those who do good to you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners do the same. If you lend to those from whom you hope to receive, whose credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners to receive as much again. But love your enemies, do good and lend, expecting nothing in return. Your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High, for he is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. Be merciful, just as your Father is merciful. Do not judge, and you will be not judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. For the measure you give will be the measure you get back.
One of my favorite blessings that I offer to people is this. May the grace and mercy that you show towards others in their time of need be the same grace and mercy that is shown to you in your time of need. I get mixed reactions when I give that blessing. I guess how you take it really matters on that. Because, think about that for a minute. May the grace and mercy that you show towards others in their time of need be the same grace and mercy that is shown towards you during your time of need. So when I gave that blessing to a person who donated their travel trailer to a fire victim, they blushed and they said, thank you so much. That's not why I do it. I don't do this for any other reason, that there is a human need here. But thank you for that blessing. When I offered this blessing to the person who decided to evict my friend from her house because they wanted to capitalize on the housing emergency brought on by the campfire, they told me to do something biologically improbable. Not impossible, but improbable. And if you're wondering, I offered that blessing with the same voice inflection, the same gestures, the same everything. And yet, the way that blessing was received was radically different. What's the old saying about karma? Karma's a difficult lady to get along with sometimes. But the question is karma a thing? Because a lot of Christians reject the idea of karma. But others say that it's actually a biblical thing. Take, for example, from the Old Testament, from the book of Ecclesiastes, which is not known to be the most conventional wisdom in the world, in the Hebrew world. There is a passage that says, "Cast your bread upon the waters, and soon it will come back to you," which sounds kind of karma-ish, right? So here's something to think about. Have you ever thought about what motivates a person to do good? What motivates us to do good? Because most people don't come right out and say, oh, I do good things because if I do, good things are going to happen to me. You know, that might be exactly why they do good things, but my word, don't say that out loud. Shh, keep that under your hat, because that sounds, I don't know, kind of nepotistic when you say it that way, like I'll only do something if I expect something in return, even though that's exactly why I do it. But then there are those who do good out of spite, right? Remember last week how we were talking about, do the hard stuff now so we can get the goodies later, and with the added benefit of being able to watch the people who didn't get their goodies suffer? Well, the justification here is if we do good out of spite, then we're just contributing to the balance of the universal scales of justice. It's a good thing, right? Retribution can be a solid motivator. Other people do good because they might gain status. They might gain favor. Well, see, if I stand behind this popular charity, I'll look good. My friends and my family will say, wow, this person, they're just bursting with compassion and mercy. What a hero. I might even be opening the doors to maybe some future employment or something like that. Still, others do good because it makes all the right people mad. Right? Now, you think that's a stretch of the imagination? Think about it. Because some people say, I really don't have anything invested in this act of kindness other than it upsets my enemies. Because imagine that, weaponized grace. Some people do things out of fear. They do good out of fear because they think, I better be good, because if I don't, I'm going to be in trouble. People aren't going to like me. God's not going to like me. I need to do this because it's really the only thing that justifies my existence. It's the only way that I know I'm not going to face eternal punishment. That's not healthy. Okay, well, those are some interesting examples of what motivates a person to do good, but let's flip that around and ask what motivates a person to be bad? What motivates them to do bad things? Because then all of a sudden we think, oh, I can get my head wrapped around that, because clearly what motivates people to do bad things are greed and selfishness and jealousy and hatred. Those are the things that are present in order for their to be able to do bad things. But what's interesting is that often people who do bad things think that what they are doing is actually good. So if you've ever attended Faith in Films on a night that we've watched a superhero movie, you will learn that what makes or breaks a good superhero movie is the villain. Because a good villain is one who thinks their actions are actually good, even when others think they're doing bad. They think that they're justified in doing what's bad. But the best villains are the ones that make you think, wow, you know what? I sort of understand where the villain's coming from here. In fact, I might have done the same thing had I been in similar circumstances. Those are the best villains. But how does this all relate to karma? More importantly, how does it relate to today's gospel lesson? Well, once again, we are in Luke's version of the Sermon on the Mount. The Sermon on the Mount contains the best of Jesus' wisdom teachings. And this passage that Barbara read today, there's a lot of stuff in this. This is a densely packed piece of Jewish Jesus wisdom literature here, because in this, there's about 7 different sermons. And you've heard a lot of them. You've heard the love your enemies sermon, and the if anyone strikes you on the cheek, offer the other one sermon, or the do unto others as you would have them do unto you, or the ever popular do not judge lest you be judged yourself. But I want to focus on the karma sermon, which you've not heard the karma sermon yet. That's why I'm here. That is, starting at verse 33, Jesus said, if you do good to those who do good to you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners do the same. If you lend to those from whom you hope to receive, what credit is that to you? Because even sinners lend to sinners to receive as much again. Now, this goes back to our motivation for doing good. Why are you doing good? Is it because you're expecting to receive something? Because even the bad guys do that. But then Jesus turns around and says in verse 35, love your enemies, do good, and lend, expecting nothing in return. And here's the clincher. Your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High. Well, there it is. Karma's a thing then, right? Because Jesus just said that our reward will be great if we do good. End of sentence, end of sermon. Go out there and get your goodies. Yay, karma. Except Jesus said that the Most High, the God of all creation, is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. So be merciful just as your Father is merciful. So what? Do good because it doesn't matter? Because it's just the right thing to do? Well, that sure sounds like what it's saying here. And that presents a problem for those of us who like the idea of karma, right? And I'm sorry, I'm one of those people. Anybody else here with me? You know? Jesus' teaching is about doing good for the sake of itself. Not because we expect good in return or to be praised for our moral superiority. It's also not our place to judge whether others are doing as they should or should not, but rather to focus on our own practice of what is right, trusting that God is going to take care of the rest of it. In fact, the good that we give to the world will just be reflected in the goodness that comes back to us. But think about all of the unearned, maybe even unfair mercy that God extends to us. It would be kind of silly to keep score on these things, right? How many times does it seem that I've been granted mercy when I don't deserve it? But we don't think this way, because we're more likely to count the times when something goes bad and we didn't get what we think we deserve in return. But aren't you glad that God doesn't do this? I'm glad that God doesn't keep score, because then I have to consider the times in my life when I haven't been very charitable but didn't face any noticeable consequences either. And what's difficult to do is hitting that pause button in our lives when this good karma, bad karma tape starts playing in our heads. Because rather than thinking that this is something that's happening to us because God is up there pulling strings and keeping score, why not take that pause time to simply ask, what is it I'm supposed to be learning from all of this here? And then you can take the next step and do the even more important work of asking, how do I wish God would respond to me if I were on the other side of this exchange? See, when we get caught up in the good karma, bad karma game, everything is about a big cosmic scorecard. And whenever we start thinking that we're on the losing side and that everyone is out to get us and that maybe even God is out to get us, it just eats away at us. We start responding to life out of bitterness and out of resentment. Anne Lamott, in her book, Traveling Mercies, writes, holding on to resentments is like drinking poison and waiting for your enemy to die. Right? Because the harm that we do to ourselves by playing the karma game is like a poison that just runs through our veins and covers everything that we do with a blanket of anger and mistrust and resentment. Releasing all of those notions about what's fair and responding to cruelty with mercy instead of hatred, that liberates us. Because not only do we liberate ourselves from the burdens of carrying unnecessary resentment, we also contribute to breaking the cycle of retribution. This whole, I'll get mine in the end and they'll get theirs in the end because, karma is just plain toxic. Because the cycle is only broken once somebody's willing to interrupt that cycle. Because once you put the brakes on this toxic kind of thinking, you'll have a chance to reveal how absurd this transactional sense of justice really is. So, as we come to the table to share this meal of celebration and remembrance of the one who loved us unconditionally and unreservedly, we recommit our lives every week to follow in the ways of Jesus. And that is to love above and beyond the call of duty. We come as a people who've known pain, right? We've known pain. We've been hurt. But we've also discovered the cleansing, healing love of God and who are responding by learning to love as we are loved as well. See, we come celebrating the reality that for us, the tide has turned. That the pain and the hurt that we've experienced, pain that we sometimes bring on ourselves, granted, is being washed away as the love of Christ flows in to take its place. So, let's come to this table and receive that which God so generously offers to us.